real stages of a world war. There is news coming out in the mainstream media about the jab that people took. One person on the mainstream media, Fox News, said it is the deadliest one to ever be put on the market.
Now remember the dream vision and how things would play out.
There would be some major incident in Eastern Europe. I believe this is either that power plant exploding or something of the same nature like a nuclear weapon. When this happens, the mainstream media collapses. This is being engineered right now. Then the spotlight is on South Africa. Now think of Antony Blinken in South Africa trying to win over South Africa during this conflict. I will get back to this later. Before we move on, this is the strangest thing that has happened to me. I was about to produce this video. I had finished writing, finished editing, going over this document, and I was on YouTube looking for info about what's taking place in Serbia. You know how you watch one video, then you get recommendations and down the rabbit hole you go. Eventually, for some or other reason, a video popped out about the most expensive city in Africa. I click on the video. It is a video about Angola. Now the only thing I know about Angola is it was Portuguese. We fought up there and its capital is Luanda.
I do not know anything else about this country or its geography nor which city lies where. So I watch the video and they mention there is an election coming up. Within the next day, perhaps today when this video goes live, or tomorrow, the results will be in.
I then search the news for Angola and it seems the democratically elected Angolan government, sanctioned and given the nod of approval by the West, will win once again. You know the democracy's the West.
America were telling us we're coming to Africa where the same party rules for 50 years. The same democracy Dr. Fervard told us about, one man no vote. So the same party looks like it is going to win again, but while watching the video, viewers were shown where those oil fields are in Angola. They are in the north. I did not know this. Where did I say during the dream vision? I saw India swooping in on Mozambique.
China will take northern Angola. I saw a dotted line go across the north, and we see today Angola is saying they will join the new Russian Eastern Bloc payment system. After all this, I pulled up the seer's words about Angola. I paste them in here from Voice of a Prophet.
This is what the seer had to say about this.
Van Rensburg warned that things would go horribly wrong in Eastern Europe, Russia, and on our northern borders, for when the struggle in Russia is at its peak.
He sees a pot with fire in the southwest, Angola, indicating that ethnic violence will start up in all its fury again.
However, matters will be far worse in Russia, for it is there he saw the dreadful civil war, and while this is raging, the world will stand by, looking on helplessly. Now the author Mr. Sneyman mentioned Bosnia in the book, speaking about how deadly the war was with Serbia. Now we have hindsight that Ukraine is far more deadly, but at the same time, he was correct. He pointed out this region in the Balkans, and what do we see happening with Serbia and Kosovo?
So we must watch events unfolding in Serbia with Kosovo and Angola.
It always interested me, puzzled me, if Angola was so Marxist, why did they use US dollars? Why not the yuan or the ruble, and why did they allow all the American oil companies to extract oil? If it was so democratic and hailed as a success story by America, then how can they honestly say it's democratic with 50 years of independence run by the same government? Are you starting to wake up? Every country they call undemocratic is really democratic, and everyone they call democratic is really corrupt.
All the countries they hail as model countries are literally filled with corruption, from Angola, Ukraine, South Africa, and how many more.
Like an actor reading their lines, playing their role, you have to realize it's all just an act. It's nothing more than exactly what Putin said it is. It is a new form of colonialism that they have exerted on the world stage. All the former colonies in Africa literally fell into their hands or were forced into their hands. I am also waiting for some new act to be passed by America in Africa, like they did with their Latin American Monroe Doctrine, barring anyone from doing anything in their backyard.
It seems the whole world is their backyard, and if they do not like you,
They just get some actor president to read lines in front of the cameras calling you undemocratic and a threat to their liberal world order.
You cannot unsee it once you have studied and done the research.
When Portugal arrived in Angola in the 13th century, the total population was less than 50,000, the country the size of Germany and France. Portugal in the real sense has more right to be there and has territory there than the people who live there. When you study the coup that took place in Portugal with the Carnation Revolution, you realize it is no different to the revolutions we saw in Ukraine in 2014, the revolutions in Libya, Latin America, Southern Africa.
The same banks, the same people, the same organizations.
America should watch Angola. I saw it clearly. China and India working together in Africa to starve Europe of natural resources in Africa to weaken America. China is about to eat America's lunch in Angola. In Soweto we see the residents setting up their own parliament now. So we see multiple factions forming in the country. We have various political parties, the revolutionaries, the immigrant issue. We have residents now rejecting all forms of politics in South Africa and going their own way. There were also attempts by the F to stop this parliament thing going ahead, so we see the F will come into direct clashes with the normal black population who simply want a better life. Again, one of the main issues in Soweto is the electricity issue and foreigners. So see the dots connecting. The first lightning strike hit, which I believe was those Zamas. No one really paid attention. They thought it was just another crisis, but then the second strike has hit, which whipped up a tornado.
Now the entire country is speaking about the foreigners. With the resources, economy the way it is, more people will turn on these foreigners.
They are the first in line for the easy pickings. The ANC's long-standing relationship with African nations is going to be tainted with how their citizens are being impacted in South Africa. Remember, these immigrants send millions, hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of rands back to these former colonies in Africa, propping them up. If their residents are being badly treated, they will leave South Africa.
While at the same time, more Africans will ask the ANC why they do not treat whites like this.
The pressure will be on the ANC from all corners of the globe, from old alliances which turn stale.
The result will be that migrants leave, but I have a feeling,
if they are badly attacked, weapons will pour into the country and we will see a Congo-style world war taking place on our streets between foreign forces now fighting the locals in retribution attacks, which will only fuel the situation and cause the Zulus to come out of Natal to Johannesburg. And this is the glow of fire. The real glow of fire, sparks flying from all angles. In all the chaos. The whites, stripped of everything and their backs against the wall, demoralized, will not even see things clearly due to the desensitization and normalizing of the chaos. And this is the danger, because the revolutionaries who want to kill the Boer will align with these forces, and then the lights go out, and we know what the seer mentioned about that. These are all scenarios one should look at as this thing unfolds. Do not forget the Indian population. Today there are millions of Indians pouring in from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. The Indian influence over the nation will be felt like never before, and it will intensify as India swoops into Mozambique to take control of their oceans, as the Arabs, the Portuguese, Dutch and British did centuries before. There is a move to colonize Africa from the east. Africa cannot see it. They think those nations will play fair. We all know they will not. It is going to be battleground South Africa.
Our courtesy of the Almighty to bring about our chains and finalization of the century coming undone. Meanwhile in Europe the lights go out and the war continues, but these are the many outside forces the seer
spoke about when the struggle for the Boers is at its highest, and so South Africa straddling the oceanic highways. The eastern and western portion are going to be hot zones for outside interference from both the west and east, which is why the Zulu King recently spoke about outside forces in Natal. This thought came to me today. I briefly touched on it before. The chaos that hit Natal last year July was a result of the previous king, along with whites in South Africa, trying to create a federation of states breaking away from the Union of South Africa. It was orchestrated to destroy Natal, to make them dependent on the state economically and to control them. Remember, the Union of South Africa was created to prevent anyone messing around with the shipping lanes between South Africa and India. If the country from the globalist perspective, mainly the western portion, is split up, then it makes the situation more dangerous for the West.
With China looking to control the Pacific, should India and her alliances with the East, Africa and the Middle East get hold of and control the Indian Ocean?
Then the West would be left with only the Atlantic Ocean. The Russians are busy carving out the seas around the North Pole.
This is why South Africa can never have a split of having a hard border of an East and West. It would risk the shipping highways. Whether they like it or not, a huge amount of pressure will be exerted on South Africa by these nations, including many African nations now following the lead of China, Russia, India and the Middle East with their BRICS expansion.
Those countries will use the foreigners in the country. It could happen in time that the foreigners here in South Africa are being sent weapons by these countries to fight to take control of South Africa for their alliance partners. How do you think India and China are off our coasts the way the seer mentioned when they send their ships? They are busy trying to carve out the oceans, taking them from the West. America, I send this message to America: your oil fields in Angola are about to be taken from you. Be vigilant. The goal is not the oil, the goal is to weaken Europe. Then to destroy you. Of course no one will listen. They paid no attention to the warning of the Step 1 complete in Europe, which signaled the beginning of the invasion. This is now a war of the former Western colonies all lining up against the West. America cannot fight these wars as they have fought previous wars. This is the mistake the old Europeans made, and they lost their colonies. Going forward in South Africa, it is important to keep in mind the various factions and what their objectives are.
Once again, Soweto is going to play a huge role in this coming revolution with the ordinary black masses who simply want a better life and service delivery.
If ever the government gets a whiff of the whites and other peoples working together, they will unleash their revolutionary dogs of war on both sides. Remember, they want the farmland to starve the people of the country with the global depopulation plan. Every time a farmer feeds some hungry person in the country or on the continent, it interferes with the global objective.
With money becoming tight due to inflation and the economy, more blacks, ordinary blacks, will riot. The problem then is, how do you identify the normals from the revolutionaries? The revolutionaries could hijack normal people's grievances, while at the same time outside forces are working the migrants to orchestrate a situation to have India, China and their alliances get involved in the affairs here. Never forget, everything is about the chains finally coming undone. This confirms the video where I said the nations will fight over South Africa, but it is the Almighty using them for their ultimate freedom.
Japan now is talking about major investments in Africa. Investments in Africa from the East are always followed by some troop movement and soldiers being sent.
Remember the dream vision of Japan sending troops situated in and around Zimbabwe from 2019 or the early part of 2020. I mentioned on the channel in previous videos.
When I was younger, when I would walk through the veldt as a young child, I would see visions. As I grew up, I did not want to read the Bible nor pray, because when I did that, these visions would come back and I had no explanation for them. In 2014, while working out, I had two visions, one from the past, which I was at Blood River. I was clearly shown the covenant is an everlasting covenant. In that vision, I saw in the future after being transported to Blood River, and then into the future where I saw the cloud over the nation and the Turk in Africa.
That was around the July of 2014. I did not think much about any of it again.
Then in December 2015, while washing dishes, I had a vision which brought me to my knees. This was the most powerful one. It is this one which really had an impact on me. It was the most powerful one I had had to that point. After this dream vision, my mind was blown. In the vision, I saw the past, the present and the future for South Africa. I saw the players on the international scene and what South